Welcome to Sasquatch and Sourdough, the podcast where we embark on a journey into the depths of the unknown, weaving together threads of ancient scripture, tales of high strangeness, and the joys of nature. Whether you're a seeker of truth, a lover of the great outdoors, or simply hungry for a good story, Sasquatch and Sourdough invites you to join us on a journey of discovery, wonder, and deliciousness. So grab your backpack, sharpen your senses, and prepare to explore the sacred mysteries of our highly strange world like never before.
Welcome back to Sasquatch and Sourdough. I'm your host, Christina, and I'm joined by my beautiful best friend, Crystal.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. It feels like fall.
Almost.
I can't wait.
It's a little nicer today.
I guess we're in the throes of whatever's going on with Debbie.
Debbie.
Debbie Downer hurricane is coming our way.
So we're going to get like 8 inches of rain or something tomorrow?
Is it really supposed to be that much?
I don't know. You know how they always make things bigger than they are.
Yeah. So I made this delicious pumpkin spice coffee creamer. I've never tried it before. Like making my own. I like the actual like stuff that you buy at the store, but some of them are just
too sweet.
Ooh, and disgusting. And they have like whatever that chemical. So I can't. There's one brand that I can't even drink because it makes me
ill. Yeah, it makes me ill. Like Coffee Mate, I can't drink Coffee Mate
because of the seed oils.
It's so gross.
Yeah, the seed oils.
And then you get like a coating in your mouth. Mm-hmm. It's just really gross.
Yeah, it is Coffee Mate, isn't it?
Coffee Mate's gross.
Yeah, no, don't drink that. Make your own. So welcome back. We're excited to be here. We're back in the office again.
Yay.
It's been nice. This is episode 8.
Wow.
I know.
I didn't know.
It's exciting. We've got like a whole bunch of new subscribers on Instagram and YouTube, so that's really cool. And I'm trying to make little videos to keep us ahead. So maybe I'll make a little like coffee creamer video.
Yeah.
So people can make that.
We've been very busy with vacations. Like I went away for a week, you went away for a week. Everybody's just been doing stuff.
It's impossible to be consistent in the summer.
Yeah, it's like the last throes of summer where you're trying to get all the activities in that you can do before the kids go back.
I feel like we did nothing and everything. It was like a lot.
And it goes by so fast.
It goes by so fast. I know. So here we are dreaming about fall. So we wanted to kind of talk about just some, cozy, spooky stories.
Yay, spooky Baltimore.
Mm-hmm. Oh, spooky Baltimore is so spooky.
There's a lot of spookiness in Baltimore.
There's so much going on.
Mm-hmm. It's old.
It really is.
The old port. So one of my favorite places in Baltimore is Fells Point. It's very haunted. And there's like this really cool ghost tour. You've been on it. I've been on it. You can take a ghost tour through Fells Point, and then all the drunks will yell at you and say boo when you walk by because they just think you're the biggest nerd in the world.
Oh my gosh, they really do. You're right. You go on the ghost tours, and then everyone's also there for happy hour. And they have happy hour ghost tours. So like, you're just like, okay, I'm going to be a nerd and dig into my haunted history.
Then they make you wear this goofy sticker that has a ghost on it, so everybody there knows exactly what you're doing. And then you kind of feel like a tourist too in your own city.
Yeah,
because I've never been here.
Like I actually live here.
Yeah, exactly.
I know all this stuff already. I'm just trying to I'm just doing something.
And that was like the funniest part was I read the woman's book before I went on the tour, so I knew everything that she was going to say before she said it.
Yeah,
and I'm in the back of the group, like just spouting off all this information, and she got irritated with me. She was like, excuse me, would you like to give this ghost tour? And I was like, oh no, I'm paying you.
You're like, are you offering me a job?
Yeah,
because yes,
because I can do your job.
I can do your job.
Oh, I hope she's not listening to this. I'm not trying to be mean.
We don't even know what her name is.
Yeah,
just don't say her name.
Okay.
Brenda
the boo lady.
Brenda the boo lady.
Brenda boo.
We had a really fun experience on a ghost tour. I made intern Rob take me. It was probably around, I don't know, I was like in my 20s. So we were still in college. And I was like, oh, take me on this ghost tour. I want to do something spooky and dress up cute and like do all the things that, I used to do in my 20s. And so we went on the Mount Vernon. So it was Mount Vernon.
Okay.
So this is a little bit more like artsy.
Yeah.
So we went on the Mount Vernon ghost tour. This guy was a jerk.
Oh,
He was a know-it-all, and I
those are the worst.
did not get along with him. And so we just tried to like stay in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually got into an argument on the way there because I was like, we're going to be late.
Oh,
We have to get there. And so it was hilarious because you're walking through Mount Vernon and like people, it's like, so if you don't know, you know, the way that Baltimore City is like mapped out, Mount Vernon is kind of like the cultural hub. Like it's artsy. It's kind of like the artsy part of the city.
all
And
the
there's-
museums are there.
Yeah, all the museums, and there's really nice restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
So as we're going through, I can't even remember. I couldn't tell you one detail, but it was just like he was so nasty. And there was one part where it was the monument.
Yeah.
So he's like, there's something that has to do a haunted monument. I don't know, something's with the monument. And he's like, well, how, you know, you, and he like points to me, and he's like, how tall do you think this monument is? And I'm like, okay, I'm 10 feet. I have no idea. I don't know how tall things are or where I am.
I'm not good with numbers,
I don't know
or measurements.
I don't. That's why the folk method.
Let me break out my ruler.
That's why sourdough is perfect for me, because I just throw things in.
Dump and break.
So dump it. So I have no idea. And then he was like, oh no, it's whatever feet. And I was like, okay, I hate you.
It's like 80 feet.
Yeah, whatever.
I don't even know.
Whatever your point is with the monument, it's haunted. We get it. So then we're like going through, and at some point I start not listening to him, and I start looking around at where we are.
Mm-hmm.
And he has us like outside of like, you know, the Brass Elephant, like really nice,
Very nice restaurant.
very nice restaurants. And he's like, now if you stand here and you look inside, you'll see the picture. And then I'm like, okay, I was like, Rob, we need to put this in perspective. We look like street urchins right now.
We're staring at it.
We are staring in at people
eating like $500 steaks
as they dine with this idiot. And he looked like it was, I'm not kidding,
God.
it was like some kid from theater class. And I was
Yeah.
like, we paid $75 for this.
All right, to put this into perspective, the Brass Elephant is very high
It's
end dining.
like the high-end dining.
Like you are gonna pay $500 for 2 people.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's like white tablecloth. Everybody's dressed to the nines. You can't get in without a suit.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's
So,
very nice.
You probably looked like a. I bet the wait staff in there is probably so tired of that ghost store. Like, can you guys
Oh my
stop
gosh.
standing at the window like
just stop staring.
hungry little children from the Victorian era?
It reminds me of that.
Charles Dickens.
Oh my gosh! Now we're gonna get into Christmas, because like one of my favorite Christmas movies is Scrooge. Remember the part in Scrooge
Yeah,
where she's like,
I know what you're talking about.
where it's because she listened to him and she was like, oh, Gilles, will you get? And he's like, get away, urchins. That's what I felt like. Happy birthday!
Boy, that's funny.
It was street urchin. Anyway,
Yeah.
we just went down some little bunny trail, but
So that was all about ghost tours in Baltimore. Because Baltimore's very haunted. So there's a lot of ghost tours.
absolutely is.
There's one for like each neighborhood downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Edgar Allan Poe lived here and frequented a lot of the bars in Fells Point. And one of the places that he went was called the Horse You Came In On. And it's actually still there in Fells Point, and you can go and sit at the same bar that's been there since, you know, forever, since the 1800s or 1700s even. Some of those buildings were built. So all of the people that work there say that they see a ghost, and he like moves glasses around, and
Ooh.
he barkeeps, he bartends.
Oh
And they have a pet name for him, which is Edgar.
no.
So
Edgar.
supposedly the last place Edgar was seen drinking on the night that he died was the Horse You Came In On.
Mm-hmm.
This is just speculation. There's no actual picture. There's nothing that says he was definitely at the horse besides like word of mouth, you know? But famously he was found almost dead and delirious in a ditch in Baltimore after drinking all night. Nobody knows what happened to him. It's one of our biggest mysteries. You know, he probably drank too much and fell down in a ditch and just died from, you know, partaking too much.
There's a lot of theories around.
There's so
what
many
happened.
theories. Some people say he got beat up. Some people say he was found in clothes that weren't his, that were ill-fitting. Nobody knows what really happened to him. Yeah, it's a lot a lot of stuff.
Because around that time they would do, so you would have people that would go around and like get people drunk and make them vote. Like that's a big thing.
And like put you into indentured servitude.
Yeah.
Shanghaiing.
Just Shanghai.
Shanghaiing. Yes, that was very prevalent in Fells Point during that time period.
Well, because we're a port city.
It was a port city. So they would, there was actual, when we went on this ghost tour in Fells Point, they showed us in some of the bars, this, I think it was the Admiral's Cup.
Oh, yeah.
Where there was a trap door in the floor where you would be sitting on a bar stool drinking, and you would fall through this trap door, end up in the underground tunnels that led out to the Chesapeake Bay. And from that tunnel, you know, you would fall and knock yourself out, and they would drag your unconscious body, and you'd wake up on a ship in the middle of, you know, wherever, and now you're an indentured servant. Nobody knows what happened to you.
Oh my gosh.
You're just gone. Yeah. Shanghai. Yeah, they showed us the trap door.
You've been shanghaied.
Yeah. 2 bars down there that are haunted, but that whole strip on the edge of the bay right there, it's Tame Street or Thame Street or however you want to pronounce it. The other big haunted place on there is called the Admiral Fell Inn, and that was built in the 1700s, and there was a fire in Fells Point, so a lot of the old buildings are gone, but that was one of the ones that stayed. It didn't get hurt by the fire. So there was a period of time, I think it was in the 1700s, where a bunch of nuns went there and took care of some sailors that were like sick and ailing, and there wasn't really much that they could do to save these guys. So a lot of the sailors died inside of the building. So when you talk about the Admiral Fell Inn, it was a rough place. It was full of like
a bunch of sailors, yeah,
mobsters hung out there, illegal gambling, brothels, all the sailors. I'm trying to get to this one part here.
It makes sense too, because you know you kind of have. I mean, the Port of Baltimore I don't even know if it was at that point like established as the port, but anytime you have a bunch of different ships coming in from different places, there's going to be a lot of, you know, unsavory activity.
Yeah, it was in the 1900s, it was considered like a red light district.
Oh, really?
That's how like bad it was down there. It was gambling.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It was gambling, illegal alcohol. It was mobsters. It was everything illegal.
Right, because then we're in
brothels.
Prohibition.
Yep. So, like, the story that I was trying to talk about was, it was the Mercy nuns, the nuns that worked at the hospital Mercy. They would take care of sick sailors in the main part of that building. And, it's where they died. So a lot of people will still report seeing floating sailors where there used to be a fire escape, and stairs. So like, I guess the stairs used to be there and the sailors would go up and down these stairs, but since the stairs are now gone, now they just see floating sailers.
Oh my gosh.
Like, could you imagine?
Are they like in uniform?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess so.
Yeah.
How would you know?
How would you know they were a sailor? Yeah.
Ugh.
There you can hear people wandering the halls. You can hear partying going on upstairs where there used to be like illegal gambling. So you could hear people upstairs. Like,
this is part of Mercy Hospital?
No.
Okay.
The Mercy nuns went to the Admiral Fell Inn.
Oh, gotcha.
During the 1900s to care for the sick sailors.
Could you imagine? You're just like
a nun in the middle of a red light district.
Good God. I mean, no, they're used to that. They're probably
taking care of dead.
No, I mean like
sailors.
being a patient.
Oh.
Broke my leg. And I can't move, and there's just a floating, disembodied spirit of a sailor.
Oh. Yeah, but still to this day, people see the sailors. There's a ghost dog playing in the hallways. There's the ghosts that like to play tricks on guests by setting off alarm clocks at strange times of the night.
Ooh.
You can hear footsteps. There's women that walk through walls. And what does it say? It says, a woman walked through the walls before telling him to lie back down. So a guest, I guess, was awoken by the footsteps.
Oh my gosh.
And she came through the wall and she said, okay, lie back down. And then went back through the
like
wall.
Ghostbusters.
Oh, man.
Ugh.
Yeah, so it's just a lot I mean, there's so much. I could go on and on and on about all of the different experiences that people have in that hotel.
I loved Fells Point. I don't know, just like my favorite. That's like one of my fondest memories. I think is just going to Fells Point and getting like bread and mushrooms. Like it's just like it was such a fun place. And then I actually found this is kind of cool. Like I found a random Edgar Allan Poe book in my Nana's house one day, and that's how like I was probably like 10.
Aw.
And that's when I started like really loving like poetry and all of that sort of that just like gothic Victorian romantic horror poetry and imagery.
It's so funny because the same exact thing happened to me when I was about 10, and it was my older sister. She introduced me to Edgar Allan Poe. It was like a snowy day. I'm gonna set the picture.
Set the scene.
It was a snowy day, and my mom had taken us all on bicycle rides. And we lived on a really busy street in like Baltimore County. And she would take us to the side streets behind our house. And at the end of the side street was this really beautiful church. And we would ride our bikes back and forth up and down this street. Nobody was out. It was cold. It was gray. It was snowy. And my sister was just in the mood to like tell ghost stories. And she used to tell me ghost stories a lot. So she started telling me the story of a telltale heart.
Oh, it's a good one.
And she said, I'll read it to you when we get home. Sometimes she was very giving that way. And she would read things to me and get me interested in stuff. So that was when my love of the macabre came about, and Edgar Allan Poe and all those things was the telltale heart and a snowy day.
Oh,
yeah.
I love that.
When I was 10 years old. Yeah.
There's just like something in us, I think, that likes that, it's like the dark part of human nature, where we just have that. I don't know. There was nothing like it. He invented the horror story. He invented the crime drama. Like he really
true crime drama.
Yeah. I mean, that's where it began.
Definitely.
You had a really, this reminds me of a story you were telling me before we started rolling about your mom. Do you want to tell that?
Sure.
It's the weirdest thing. Crystal had a really weird thing happen.
So I'm going to title this The Story of the Haunted Bread Maker.
So on brand. It's so on brand for this podcast.
We're actually talking about bread.
We're doing it.
Okay. So we were having a yard sale at my house, and we have a Ring camera. At 1:05, there was no bread maker on my porch. And then at 1:45, there was a bread maker on my porch.
What? Is it AM or PM?
PM.
Okay.
We were outside doing the yard sale. We got hot. We came in the house. We went back out to like clean up, or not to, just we went back outside, and there's a bread maker sitting on my porch. I'm like, where'd this come from? So I started asking all my neighbors, because all my neighbors are very giving. They like to give me things. Nobody knows where the bread maker came from.
What?
Yeah. So me and Eric decided to look at the Ring camera, and it records all day. You can see all the activity on the front yard, people coming, people going, people buying things.
Yeah.
So we're skipping. We get to 1:05 and it stops recording.
What?
Yeah. And then it picks up recording again at 1:45. And the bread maker is sitting there on my front porch right in front of my door.
It's a phantom bread maker.
So a ghost gifted me a bread maker. That's all I can come up with.
I'm not making bread in that.
Yes. So I decided I'm not going to keep this haunted bread maker and make haunted bread.
Nope.
Not into that. So I'm going to give it to my mom. See if she can make some possessed bread.
Perfect. It's definitely a connection between like the beginning of the spiritualist movement or the spiritist, because that's different too. And then just like all of the terrible stuff happening in the Civil War. Like those, at that time, people were so like kind of obsessed with like the afterlife. There was a lot of like unknowns.
Yeah.
People just kind of like would go to mediums and things like that.
During that time, it was around the Civil War, and people were desperate to speak to their lost relatives because they had just went off to war and they never saw them again. They don't know where they were buried, if they were buried, if they're lying in a field somewhere. There was just no closure.
No closure.
So, whatever the Fox sisters were doing to make people think that they were actually speaking to spirits on the other side, people during that time were desperate to believe them.
Yeah.
So they would seek out these different types of mediums to come to their homes and tell them that they were talking to their lost husband, their lost brother, son, whoever it was that went missing. And they were just so desperate to believe them that they did. And
Yeah.
it created a lot of traction. And that time period in America was just such a horrible time for like loss and depression and like rebuilding. So it was a really
It was dark.
yeah. And it was kind of ingenious of the Fox sisters to jump on that bandwagon
Yeah.
and make a lot of money by preying on these poor, sad, depressed people.
Oh, they were total frauds. It's crazy. Like, and you can track it through newspaper articles and things
Mhm.
like that. It started very innocent.
Yeah.
And it was like they got some attention for it.
Mm-hmm.
And what they did, spoiler alert, if you don't know what they did, but they would make clicking sounds
With their joints.
with their joints.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the knocking.
Yep.
And people were just absolutely bamboozled
Mm-hmm.
and thought that, you know, they were,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure, like, and this is obviously something we could do a deep dive into this, because I actually do have a good source of
Mhm.
information about like another tie-in with the Fox sisters.
Mm-hmm.
But they were complete frauds, and they did actually just like prey on people's,
Yeah.
you know, loneliness and sadness.
Yeah.
And
Depression.
it's awful.
Desperation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, honestly, like, that's just like one of the oldest tricks in the book.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
oh, here's a desperate situation. Let me try to make money
Let
off
me
of
make
it.
money off of it.
And the media and the newspapers, I mean,
Mhm.
it's cool because you kind of like, you can tie it into like, okay, well, there's a business right there. You know, we've got newspapers for the past 100 some years. Like,
Mhm.
we got to keep selling those.
Mhm.
Like, not only do you have like the sales of newspapers, but then you have the marketing of just death in general
Mhm.
because of undertaking, like
Mhm.
taking
Yes.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that ties into actually the Ouija board,
Yep.
which was made here in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Um,
Do we know where? Is it? 'Cause
Yes.
I don't think is it manufactured here?
It was.
It was.
I can tell you where it was born. It's actually a modern day 7-Eleven on Monument Street
What?
that is haunted.
Oh my gosh.
So it's a haunted 7-Eleven on Monument Street downtown
There's
where
a
the
portal.
original board was created.
Oh my gosh.
And people to this day say that 7-Eleven is haunted.
It has to be, because there's definitely an occult.
You got like
Portal
ghosts in
tie-in.
there making slushies.
Oh my gosh. I know.
Coca-Cola cherry.
I'm here for the Ouija board. That, you know what? Honestly, that's a perfect picture of like all of this, because you have like you have like the Victorian era, like people are dying, and there's no funeral home. You know, it's
Mhm.
not like I'm going to Evan's funeral home and like, you know, burying somebody. It's
Yeah.
no, you're in my parlor. You're in my
Yes.
living room.
Yeah.
And I think we forget. I think we get like a little bit sort of, it's very easy for like the skeptic in me to look back and be like, how could they let themselves, you know, get bamboozled by these Fox sisters? Or why would you ever go to a medium? Like, especially like, you know, it's specifically told like we're not supposed to do that in the Bible. Like, personally, you know, that's my whole thing. I've been down that road myself, and I know that like bad stuff comes from it. But like, you can look back and see, well, wait a second, they're not in modernity.
No.
They're not in modern times. So it's
Yeah.
perfect that now it's a 7-Eleven, like, in probably the crappiest part of Baltimore.
Monument Street.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
So what I was saying about the
Yeah.
Undertaker was one of the men that created it was an undertaker and a coffin maker.
Really?
He got started making furniture, and then he went to coffin making, and then he went to undertaking.
Oh my
and
gosh.
while he was making coffins, he was also making Ouija boards with his partner. His partner's name was Charles Kennard, and the Undertaker, his name was, I have it right here.
That is so morbid.
It really is. E.C. Reich, Reiche. They shared an office together in Baltimore, and they found out about these famous talking boards that were
Mhm.
sweeping Ohio.
Oh, there
So
we go.
the talking
Oh,
boards
great.
came out of Ohio.
Thanks, Ohio.
Don't let your teenagers know, because this is going to make a whole new slang word.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no. Yeah, do they even Ohio is just one portal.
Yeah. So anyway, so they heard about these talking boards, and I guess the guy was like, I can build furniture and coffins. Why not make a spirit board? So they started making about a dozen or so of these spirit boards, and they became very, very popular. They got out of the company and sold the rights to this other guy, and that guy ended up making like millions and millions of dollars.
Oh, because they sold like the trademark.
They sold the trademark.
Oh, wow.
And that's when like Parker Brothers started making it.
Yeah.
But or no, that was before Parker Brothers started making it. Hold on.
Oh yeah, so you were telling me we found, so of course like Norman Rockwell like picked it up too. And
Yeah.
there's kind of, it's worth like looking up. I might actually like post it on Instagram. But like in 1920s, he created this picture of, you know, this couple in the 20s like doing, I guess they're sitting like face to face and they're doing the Ouija board, but it's really creepy because she looks like she's in some sort of trance. Which I guess is kind of like, you know, fitting, I suppose. But then also he is just like creepily looking. It's just really weird. They don't look like they're on a date and having fun. It looks like some sort of esoteric weirdness going on.
Yeah,
So.
and they marketed it as like a parlor game.
Yeah.
Like a fun little board game.
Yeah.
Where you and your partner will get together romantically and put your hands together on this little planchette and get close and
talk to your dead mother.
Yeah, talk to your dead mother.
It's just okay. Like, I don't know. I guess yeah, why?
I don't know.
I don't know. But then, of course, just like everything else, you know, that is going to turn into, you know, it's corruptible. Like everything else, you know, in creation is corruptible.
So I found the guy's name that they sold it to. It was the William Flood family, Fuld.
Okay.
And that guy actually suffered a tragic accident by falling off of a factory building that he had built.
Oh, I did hear about this.
Yeah. So the Ouija board actually told him to build this building. He built it. He was on top of it, fell off of it, and died.
Okay.
So that's kind of like a creepy connection.
Yeah. Like, where did that spirit come from? And why did it tell you to jump off a building?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So he was the guy that made millions.
Yeah.
The original guy sold him the patent.
Right.
And he made the millions. And he like talked his family into keeping it in the family. So they kept it for like 4 generations before they finally sold it to Parker Brothers.
Oh wow.
And that's who makes it today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're everywhere. I mean, you know, it's just like any fad. Like you're not gonna, especially and we actually found an example of this with the tie-in of The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Because there was a kid who actually, you know, I mean, definitely, again, I can't stress it enough, don't mess around with them. You know, whether you're skeptical or not, like, I believe that there is a tie-in to something dark.
Yeah.
So don't do it. But this kid used a Ouija board, and that was the story of The Exorcist. And you can actually find the actual exorcist that was on that case and assigned to that case. And you were saying when who was it? William Blatty? Yeah,
William Peter Blatty was the author. And his whole intention of creating that movie was to get people to go back to the church.
Yeah.
And it actually had the opposite effect, I think.
Yeah,
because it terrified people.
It terrified people.
They wanted to stay so far away from spirits and
anything.
Yeah, they were just, I don't know.
Yeah, that was a whole thing too.
Yeah, but if you look at like the reviews when that movie came out and how people were literally like getting up and running out of the theater because they were vomiting.
My mom remembers
and they were terrified.
Yeah.
And they thought they were possessed by watching it.
Yeah.
Or that they were inviting spirits into themselves by watching it. It was a really big deal.
Yeah. My mom, I mean, that was like with the 70s. My mom's like, she and my dad went to see it. And she's like, oh my gosh, people just like left. That and like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It was like, people just, they were so, because now we're so oversensitive, like we're desensitized from all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just so a part of our culture.
Yeah.
You know, so that like freaked people out even more.
Yeah. Ugh. But you know, like when we were talking about this tie-in with the Ouija board earlier, and I didn't even realize that part with the Ouija board in the movie was real. I thought they had made that up for like theatrical reasons. So we actually looked at the real story, and the boy that was possessed is from Maryland again.
Yep.
Georgetown to be specific. And he was interested in Ouija boards, and he had an aunt who was a spiritual one of the people of the spiritualist movement.
Yep.
And she brought him a Ouija board, and then she died, and that's when all of the spiritual supernatural phenomena
Like activity
started happening in their home.
Oh wow.
So it was kind of like a poltergeist type happenings, you know?
Yeah.
So who knows? I think her name was Aunt Harriet. I can't remember because it was on my phone.
Okay.
But whatever. His
Yeah.
aunt gave him the Ouija board, and then that's when all the bad stuff started
Something
happening.
like kind of opened up. So it's, I mean, you never, like, I think that's just kind of the thing. You never know. You never know how something's going to affect you.
Yeah, you really don't know what you're messing with.
But getting back to the whole, like, the beginning of, like, the spiritualist and the mediums back in, you know, the 1800s. Like, so this is a little bit further along, but so, you know, you have people just going there. I don't know. I mean, I think it's innocently. I think it's just kind of like you said, somebody died in the Civil War. Like, I miss my son. Oh my gosh, poor Mary Todd Lincoln.
Yes.
How much can she possibly go through?
Yes. And Queen Victoria.
Yeah.
So when Prince Albert died, she was desperate to speak to him and started having seances in Buckingham Palace. And
that's crazy.
Mary Todd Lincoln did the same thing when all of her sons died. She had seances in the White House.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just the USA where this was blowing up. This was like very prominent people. The Queen of England.
Yeah.
You know? So when the Queen of England is having seances, your normal everyday people are going to think this is definitely real.
Right. This is something that I can dabble in or whatever. And that's the thing, you know, again, just the sadness. I mean, and like I said, Mary Todd Lincoln, I mean, she just had, it was like son after son.
Yeah. It was so sad. Abraham Lincoln's one of my favorite historical figures, and I could talk about him all day long.
I know.
He had premonitions.
He
was very sensitive to the spirit realm.
He really was.
And his wife was too. She was very interested. She believed everything he told her about all of his dream premonitions. She was like our first lady to be, you know, involved in the paranormal.
Yeah, you're right. And that's the thing. I think, you know, our agenda sort of is just to kind of bring this stuff, you know, to you guys, tell a fun story. There are tremendous amounts of deep dive. Like, my brain goes every conspiracy theory way with portals, the White House, you know, all that sort of like mysticism, occultism. Like, you go ahead and take that and run with it. Like, you can definitely find that stuff out there. People have made tons of videos. But, you know, I just keep coming back to the fact that it's you're preying on people that are vulnerable, which is not a good look, you know, like that whole era of just, those Fox sisters, man.
So the one, and I don't remember which one it was, but one of them finally came out and said, yes, we're messing with you. This is not real. And she showed them how they did it by cracking their knuckles and snapping their toes. And they got so good at like snapping their toes and the joints in their toes that they could do it with shoes on.
It's so creepy.
So there was no way anybody would know.
Well, and they did like investigations, but in that time they can't, like, she's not going to be, it's not proper for her to like pull her skirt up to her knee so you can watch her foot. Like, that's not there. That was like improper.
The sexy ankle needs to be covered.
Cover your ankle, ma'am.
You cannot look at my feet.
How dare you? Don't even think about her feet. But then, so there's another, I just want to, I don't know if you have any other, like, any kind of other like tie-ins with that, but getting back to the skeptical route, Harry Houdini went on his own personal crusade to stop these charlatans. And I absolutely love him for it. So you can, I mean, again, like, we could go down so many different rabbit trails with it, but I found, so there was a book, that he kind of wanted to just expose really this darkness. And so, because Houdini, if you don't know, I'm hoping that you do, but Harry Houdini was just like an incredible illusionist, and magician,
famous musician.
Not like the weirdo, like sorcerer, like occult magician, but the one that actually like did crazy
illusion.
Yeah,
I like that word.
Yeah,
it's a good word for him.
Yeah, he was an illusionist. So he went on this crusade to expose them, and he did. He actually, there's this really good part that I want to read. It says, Houdini and Spiritism. It was a sad day for the spiritualistic mediums when they permitted Harry Houdini, the magician, to watch some of their demonstrations. Harry Houdini had a few tricks himself, and he knows them even better than the cleverest psychic frauds. As long as they have their own paraphernalia and arrange the setting themselves, all is well. So it's this whole book, and basically it was backed by Scientific America. Like Scientific America kind of proposed and kind of put him up to it to expose them. And so this is, you can find it. I'm actually going to probably link it. It's archive.com. But it's the Boston medium Marjorie that he exposes. And so it just goes on to say that, like, if they can control the setting, then that's like how they were successful.
Well, if anyone should know that, it's Houdini.
Oh, yeah.
Because he does that for a living. He tricks people into thinking that they're seeing things and hearing things that aren't actually there. So he's like the master of illusion.
Yeah.
So he knows that what these women are doing is very like low rent and not really that hard to do.
Yeah. And this was in the 20s, so it's a little bit further like removed from the Fox sisters, but still it's the same.
They were in the Victorian era.
It's the same thing. You know, you're doing the same sort of parlor tricks. I mean, there you go.
Exactly. Parlor tricks.
That's what it was. But he did actually, so he exposed that. But then also one of the other things I love about Houdini is I think like he was going to, write to send a message to somebody through a medium if it were true. And then they would send it to the newspaper, and it never happened.
Okay.
So I don't know if the mediums are definitely full of crap, or if he like got to heaven and they were like, we're not going to do that. We got other stuff for you to do. oh, Houdini. So yeah, that's
spiritualism in the Victorian era.
It's crazy. I just feel so bad for Mary Todd Lincoln.
She was a sad lady.
She was just sad.
She had a hard life.
Yeah,
a lot in life. I mean, what side did Lincoln?
Yeah,
they both did. All the people that died.
Oh my gosh.
It was a hard time to live.
It really was.
That just circles back to why the spiritualism movement got so much traction in that time period.
Yeah.
Because people only lived until they were 50. And you would have like 12 children and 8 of them would die from like normal things because you didn't know anything about the germs or sanitation. And, they didn't really know much.
No.
Well, people made a lot of money off of that.
Yeah.
And I guess people still do. I mean, I can remember in the 90s when there'd be commercials that would come on late at night.
Oh my gosh, do you remember those?
Yeah. What was the one lady's name? And she had the fake Jamaican accent.
Oh my goodness gracious, yes.
That was so funny. And it'd be like $3 a minute.
Oh, we have to look that up. Oh, what was her name? She was Jamaican.
And it was obviously like a faked accent.
And it was like, there were like
Miss Cat or something. Catty.
Oh, the psychics. Oh,
Miss Cleo. That's it. Miss Cleo.
Miss Cleo.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, there's a whole YouTube channel.
Miss Cleo. And then there was the other guy that was on TV forever.
There's like apparently a heartbreaking true story behind 90s TV psychic Miss Cleo.
Really?
We just need to just sit and do research all day apparently.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. No. Who was the other guy?
I don't know. He had that real soft spoken voice, and he had his own TV show. It was like almost like a Jerry Springer episode.
Oh,
where he had
Edwards?
A full audience. Yeah, something.
Oh, he was another swindler.
He had a whole audience, and he would like, you there, John, Jake, Jingleheimer Schmidt. You know?
Oh yeah, and then there was like a whole. Oh, remember the South Park episode?
Yeah.
What was his name? David Edwards something.
John Edwards.
John Edwards.
Mhm.
Oh my god, what a fraud!
Mm-hmm.
And you would just watch it, like, come on, people. Oh, we're
Uh-huh.
total, like, yeah, Jerry Springer latchkey kids.
Mhm.
Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sitting here telling my kid to get off of Fortnite. Meanwhile, I'm coming home watching Jerry Springer.
Trashy afternoon
Just
TV
trash. Unbelievable trash. And Miss Cleo. Oh,
Miss Cleo.
Oh, apparently there was a tragedy.
Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Cleo.
Sorry, Miss Cleo. That's terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess there's a lot of lessons here. Don't play around with Ouija boards.
Keep yourself protected.
Just keep yourself protected. Just don't do it.
Don't talk to,
Don't do it.
charlatans.
Yeah.
Don't tell your whole life story to some stranger and expect them to, like,
No.
help you out.
There's just so much. Yeah. There's
Mhm.
people out there that just are. Yeah. Yeah. Especially if you were like somehow like vulnerable or
Mm-hmm.
spiritually confused. Definitely. Just don't.
People pick up on that.
People can pick up on that and they will totally take advantage.
Try
So
'em. Yeah.
yeah, they will.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, don't just no. No Ouija boards. No, that'll make you jump off a building.
Yeah.
No.
First, they'll make you build the building.
Yeah, what
And
is
then you'll
that?
jump
what
off of
kind
it.
of witchery is that, dude? Like,
It's
what?
awful.
Man, that spirit, that guy was corrupted.
And you can go to, I think it's Monument. I don't remember the cemetery's name, but
Greenmont?
Greenmont.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's the tombstone with the Ouija board
Oh,
imprinted
yeah.
on it, where he was buried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's like a landmark.
Mm-hmm. That is something you can see here in Baltimore. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. But don't go looking for trouble. It's gonna find you.
It will find.
It will find you. That's a Type I Negative song, isn't it?
I think so.
I think so. Oh, Peter Steele's in heaven. All right. Well, that's going to do it. Or we're just going to keep going because this is just apparently everything we love talking about. So thank you so much. Yeah, I wanted to like kind of say that in the beginning, but we didn't. We had like a whole bunch of tech issues and a dog, but we are just so happy and like blessed of this audience. We're so excited to keep this community growing. So if you like this content, like, share, subscribe, find us on Instagram. If you're on Instagram, find us on YouTube, all the things. And so, yeah, until next week, I don't even know what we're going to talk about.
I don't know, but stay tuned. We always have something.
There's always
interesting.
something happening. All right, until next week. Bye.
Bye.
Together, we'll continue to seek the truth, to unravel the mysteries that lie just beyond our grasp. So as you bid farewell to this episode, remember, you are not alone. The wilderness is alive with secrets, waiting to be discovered by those brave enough to venture forth. We want to hear your stories. Email us at sasquatchandsourdough@gmail.com. Until next time, the truth is out there, God is with you, and everyone always ends up in the kitchen.